This is a Markstrat presentation for Business 5133 Marketing Management. Our team is Team Lone Star Aqua Industries, and the members are Anita Broderick and myself, Georgiana Stone. Today is April 3rd, 2015. Our brand mix consists of 3 products that targeted different segments. 2 we started with, and the 3rd we developed in round 2. Lock was a lower end product that targeted mostly savers. Loop was a very high end product that drew in customers that value high performance and social status. Our targeted segment was high earners and professionals. Load was the product we developed in round 2 to target the shopper segment. This product was fairly high-end in performance and convenience, but competitive on price. This made it perfectly targeted to shoppers. This slide shows Team Lone Star's overall performance in periods 2 through 6. Period 2 was where we had the highest SPI and total market share. In period 3, we had a significant drop in overall performance, which was directly resulted in cutting our advertising and research budgets. It was a lesson we learned and did not repeat in the following periods, but something we never fully recovered from. Here we have a breakdown of brand performances. The top table shows the company profit and loss statement in each period and cumulative results. Notice in this table, periods 5 and 6 have a loan reimbursement from a loan that was taken out in period 4, which was necessary to allow for an increase in advertising and research. The inventory costs shown really hurt the overall performance. In the beginning of period 1, we overestimated the production of lock and loop, causing a high inventory cost in each period thereafter. The bottom table breaks down each product's contribution. Again, you see the inventory holding cost in the end of period 6. Here we have a breakdown of purchase intent for all products in Markstrat, and then broken down for our brands in each consumer segment. Our brands Load and Loop came in at only 6%, and Lock was at 5%. Lock was our problem child. In each period, it failed to attract consumers regardless of how we altered the product's physical characteristics or price, which impacted the overall performance of the company. This slide shows what we believe helped make our success within Markstrat. The 4 Ps, product, price, place, and performance, were most important and consistently considered. Ordering and thoroughly reviewing each market report, development of our 2 successful brands, Loop and Lock, taking out a loan in period 4, but it probably would have been more helpful if taken out in an earlier round. Our team members worked very well together as a group, and assistance from our fabulous professor was very important. And finally, understanding the concept of marketing and applying them to the Markstrat simulation.
Hindsight's kind of 20/20, but basically we should have been better. In Markstrat, the challenge guides went into great detail that we just ignored for a lack of words, and we should have figured out the inventory. It's simple 3rd grade math that we should have figured from each segment that bought, but we didn't do that, so it cost us. It cost us in another way too, because I failed to wear my glasses, adding an extra 0, and it just haunted us throughout the whole periods 1 through 6. We created way too many locks. We created way too many loops, as successful as they were, and not understanding and going through the mathematics for each segment wanting to buy load would have given us a keener idea of how many units to forecast for sales turning the consumer way when we didn't have enough of a perfect product for them. So, you know, again, hindsight's 2020. Like Georgina had said, not asking for a loan earlier in period 3 was detrimental to us. We could no longer afford the advertising segment with all of the factors that went into purchasing decisions for the consumer. And we really should have been more price sensitive to lock, which was clearly highlighted to us in the perception maps, as well as the ending graphs in the back that said what they were totally capable of, and when they reached that point, they dropped off. So we didn't do that really well. We got sharper as we went along with our 2 other brands, but lesson learned. Better decision making. Seems like we learned from our mistakes. Markstrat wasn't probably the easiest simulation that we've ever gone through. Personally, for me, it's the first one. So its tricks were a little intimidating, but our decision making became better. We finally learned how to do the forecasting of sales, of market size, times share, with the help of the participant handbook, which we should have cracked open earlier. Again, way too many locks, way too many loops, and we didn't figure load quite right. We built enough, and we sold all of them out very, very quickly. Nice thing to know in a test run, but we turned away a perfect storm. So again, Nita should have been wearing her eyeglasses throughout the whole marketing decisions, and the 0, you know, whether you put it before the decimal point or after the decimal point, haunted us all the way through. Missed opportunity. It's important to go back and know, so you've learned, and we've fully demonstrated to our professor that the inventory carryover costs diminished our SPI performance from periods 2 through 6. We were rock stars the first one, the highest Dr. Jeff Radagary had ever seen in his career, and then we blew it. So recovered revenues would have allowed us to spend the necessary advertising dollars needed to create brand awareness for lock and loop, especially since it brought in so much more, being a high-end product and a higher priced unit in the latter periods. We really did need that, and Markstrat was super sensitive to cutting off advertising dollars, more so than I thought it ever would have. Corrected forecasting of load would have resulted in additional sales, many more sales, generating the revenue that would have popped everything up, and decreasing the shoppers' frustration not being able to find us. So it really played well into the competitors' hands by us just not being there, unfortunately. Fourthly, acknowledging the need for a loan would have helped adequately promote lock in periods 4 and loop during their decline. So we learned. Markstrat experience segmentation. Thankfully, we focused on only 3 brands. We learned that you can't be everything to everybody. Each brand has their limitations, and consumers are fickle, especially regarding price, whether it's high or low. As successful as Loop was, we think splitting the ideal values between the 2 segments, professionals and high-end earners, and finding averages between the 2 was a bit of a gamble. We should have looked for one and hit on that and stayed on it, instead of just going between the design and the performance and the battery and trying to make everybody just perfect. So I think in hindsight, if we had to do that again, we'd pick one over the other, put a price to it that they say they're very sensitive to, and have gone with that one, picking up the forecasting sales on the high end that would have contributed along the way regardless. Oddly enough, it's awakening to learn that perception and ideal values can change from period to period. I did not know that. So with electronic devices, not being particularly savvy with the purchasing of those and the importance they carry in everyday lives, probably I'm a little bit more keen on. And Georgiana is slowly teaching me that. So it's not bad to ignore a segment either. I think we were very insightful. We probably captured a few Explorer sales, but for the most part, they just really weren't a big market to begin with. And everything on the perception maps kind of just said, you know, let's just not go there. So we didn't. I think it's probably a smart thing that we just let them stay by the wayside and stayed fixated on what we were good at, savers with load, high-end and professionals with loop, and I'm getting my brands turned around a little bit. Lock with the savers, the high-end and professionals with loop, and load with the shoppers. That would have been good enough, and we should have stayed on target with what we really knew. Markstrat's experience in the 4 Ps, it can apply to anything. Product, using the perception maps, I thought were really kind of fun. Putting all of that together to develop a product with R&D and to focus on the advertising directives that would have pushed it through all the way to the consumer channels. Price, we didn't really quite accomplish that with Lock even at period 1, even though we were surprisingly accurate with loop and loads potential. Promotion, incrementally per brand advertising and commercial representative dollars spent paid well off. Again, we should have enlisted the help of a loan earlier in order to fully fund. We were surprised, maybe disappointed that advertising dictated the success of brands to the extent they did. And then place, distribution. Thankfully, when we asked our mass merchandisers and our specialty stores and even online, that my partner suggested that we pay attention to a little bit more. When we asked them to kick in and contribute and push all the way through to the retail counter and checkout, they performed very, very well for us. Biggest rewards, we learned. Every day we learn. That's one of the gratifications of participating in a master's class. Secondly, we networked. I have a new friend. I've met her daughter. I'm better for it, as well as a few others in class. Knowing the right questions to ask is always important. That way you stay on track, you continue to learn, you can focus, you can put a good program and project together. How to read reports. Some people are really, really afraid of that. Perception maps are super cool. They're not intimidating. I think most people's eyes are a little bit easier to looking at those than just type of online column graphs. So I'm glad that was an addition to that. And we really did engage our brain, especially putting this YouTube presentation together. So Dr. Gradagary, thank you. CFO, Board of Directors, we'll try it again sometime. Take care.